So here's going to be a short video. How do I get my car sanded down? Basically, we're going to talk about the tools you need for the filler process. Sand, grind, fill, all this sort of thing. How do I get that to that level? What do I need? And what do I really need? So we're going to talk about that. Okay. So let's start with the first thing you're going to do is grind off the junk. Now you can sandblast, you can do a bunch of things, but if you're doing this at home, there's different sizes of these. This is just a Roloc 3-inch. I got this little guy here, which is nice. It allows them to curl. But you'll want a 3-inch, and I think it's a 2-inch. You'll use them all. Now when you use Roloc wheels, I find better ones are better, but there's some Chinese ones on Amazon. You can get a big bag for peanuts in the 36 grit. That'll allow you to get to this level here. It makes it rough. You can fiberglass that in, smooth it, and then do your filler work. So that's kind of my process. And basically this video is just going to go over some of this stuff real quick, tell you what I use. So we grind. This is more for cutting and fab, so we're not even going to talk about that. But you need both of these. And they don't have to be good. They got to work. Cheap ones wear out eventually, a couple of years. Good ones don't. This is a cheapie. It waddles around a bit, but it's fine. So that being said, between putting filler layers on, you're supposed to clean with that. Do it. It don't hurt. Fiberglass filler. I don't think it matters much what brand you buy. This one says it's Kevlar reinforced short strand. I don't know if that's important, but any of these you use that are some name brand or decent at all are probably fine. The only difference, they seem dry and sticky. Buy some of that, add a little bit in. That's not the right price. This is probably like from the 90s or early 2000s. I had a bunch of these. It's almost empty. I bought a new one and it's like 50, 60 bucks, or it's some ridiculous thing now. So that, you pour a little bit into that. And there's videos on guys doing it. You can go look those up. I'm not going to show it here. Here we're going to hit everything you need to go from this and this to that. After we've done this, I'll grab a bit of 80 on a block and rough it. And we'll put that on. This is the stuff I use, CarWorks Goldworks. And when you read the TDS sheet, and that's for both of these fillers, you can put that over paint if you've prepped it and feathered it. So know that. Some people argue, and there's all this commotion out there about, oh, you can't do that. Some people say you can. Now here's the thing. If you're in a collision shop and you do a little spot, you're going to grind out the spot, you're going to fix it, you're going to fill it right into the paint, you're going to blend it in and so on. I think they can go over paint, but that one says so in the instructions, in the TDS, on their website, and so does that one. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, how is this stuff? If we were doing a review, I'd compare this to Evercoat's Rage at half the price. I think I've said enough. This is good. Now, depending on where you live, different products are available. But basically, this is like a regular filler. It's fairly thick. So usually I'll put that on first. You see the light on this side? That's this. We'll explain that in a minute. But if I come to this side of the car, you can see the darker green. Now it can be green or it can be like a pink or something, because basically it starts out as gold and I use the blue filler. But here's the one that's more of a finishing and you can see through it. And here's the one that's deeper. So we had a little bit of weirdness here and a little hollow spot here. We filled that. We'll block that in. Once we've done that, we can get away with just this stuff, because this stuff you can use as a finishing putty. That's what I use. That's how I get to where I get. The end result of both products, this had been all messed up and whatever. We welded a bunch of holes shut from all the decals and trim pieces, and there was an airplane and letters and a round thing. Like, we got rid of all that. We smoothed it out. Those are the 3 products I used. And this one can be used as its own finishing putty. Now, what's important about that, and I think is it USC or UMC? They got one that says that. There's a couple. You'll see videos where guys take regular fillers, they put the honey in it, or they thin it down with this. I don't know if you should, but people do it. With this stuff, you don't have to, and this stuff is awesome. And the cool thing with that is within $1 a gallon a piece, and deep rough work, finishing work. Now, let's talk about this. I have this. I don't need this. We're going to talk about this. When used right, this can be good. I don't use that ever because I got this. And it is thin enough to do that fine work. Well, you got to use a hardener, though, and it'll go dry on the thing because you're doing sand swirls. Nope, we've got primer for that. We're not doing that. We're going to get it to the car straight and good enough. What else do you need? Spreaders. These are Napa. Now, the tight coat, which is the first coat you want to squish in, these are really good for that. I don't always use them. These are just basic cheapies, but Astro Pneumatic. Check this out. Amazon find 100 of them for like $29 or whatever it is, and I think $50 if you get up to 6-inch. 4-inch and 5-inch you'll use the most, especially the 4-inch. You can only clean them so many times and they get crappy. In that pile of garbage, there's 2-3 of them in there. Buy those. You need these. You don't need this much if you're doing 1 or 2 cars, you know, because you can buy the these little multi-packs and get these ones where you get 3-4 in a pack. But if you're doing this all the time and you're never going to stop and you're like me, buy the big box. Okay, moving on. You need a cheese grater. These Bondo cheese graters are cheap. Put the Stanley Sureform blades or whatever on, they work good. All that does is if you put your filler on, sometimes you get all that rough stuff like so. Now, while it's still rubbery and not 100% cured, but no longer sticky, you can grate off the excess. And on a flat area, it only goes down so far and stops. You don't need this, but if you have it, you'll use it once in a while. This is for opening cans. This is for scraping stuff, and I pick it up a lot. Sometimes I use that to clean these off, and then I remember I got a bunch and I toss them. Explained. Durablocks. All these Durablocks came in a kit. Longer isn't always better. You want to stay on top of filler. So what I have going on over there, this is your 11 and change. This is what I'll use. And when I get it really close, I'll go to the longer one and I'll go across the whole thing back into here. This has all been filled and primed, and this front primer all ends up on the floor anyway. So you need Durablocks. You need different lengths. They don't always have to be longer is better. Yes, you do need poly blocks if you're doing SEMA car show stuff and you're sanding clear coat with a block. I don't do that, but we're talking getting it up to where you can prime it. You need Durablocks. You know what? You'll use them. They'll make your life easier and things will be straighter, but you actually don't need them. What you need is one of these. You can get that at any parts store. They're generic. This one I believe was whatever brand, doesn't matter. And here's a rubber block. If you got those 2 tools, there was a time where that's what you had. You could do a whole car. But to me, this is indispensable. This is sometimes, and this is indispensable. So if you're only going to buy 2 Durablocks, get the round one and get this little guy here. But if you're doing rough work with this, you won't be able to grip it good. Then you'll need this one. And if you don't have one of these, you can use this and this. Now, the reason it's good to have multiples, and I don't have a whole lot, like people have drawers full of blocks. This is like all my blocks. Maybe there's 1 or 2 others over there. But basically, you know, if I'm running this right now, I'm using it to double check work after primer. So I'm just going over it lightly with 120. And it basically shows me my highs and lows. basically using the primer surface as a guide coat. These right now have 80 and 180, and I've been going between. But you know, you can flip that or just use one. It depends on where you are on the car. Makes your life easier, faster. You need these. I'd recommend at least this and this, but buy a box. Even this is like a 6 or 7 piece box. Even if you bought a 4 piece, you'd be okay. You do it all the time, get the biggest box you can afford on that day. This P100. This is dirty. See all that on the floor? I've been doing this car for a week and I've swept up like probably 5 times. Don't breathe all that in. Wear your mask. You're going to need tape, and you're going to need it for lots of stuff, but to find lines and make your lines define, you can put the tape down and sand up to it. Usually you'd use a narrow one. This is just sitting here. You need tape. Okay, what else? Air files. Boards are enough. You don't need an air file, but if you do it a lot, you can do things quicker. We'll start with this guy. Ingersoll Rand 315G. It's the regular size 16-inch. It takes these papers, but it has that vinyl on it, so I suppose you could use the sticky back. It's a great tool. It works well. If you do a couple quarters on a Roadrunner, you're going to find that it's heavy and you're going to be tired at night. Now, every single tool that I've showed you, every product I've showed you, I'm giving 2 thumbs up. So you can consider this a review, and it's good. We'll hit on primer real quick. Get something like this or something professional that can go in between coats of different things. Don't use cheap $4 a can lacquer junk. That's like 20 some dollars. Sounds like a lot. You're not going to use a lot anyway. You're just going to use it once in a while, and honestly, when you're done, you're going to buy a gallon of something to put on the car. Don't spray bomb your car. You can use it, but use your head. Use it less. Now, this tool, if you only have one air tool other than these guys, you got to have this. Astro Pneumatic 888S. This, I watched a video a while back from Bondo Billy. He was using this. I think he used it a couple times, and I'm like, man, does that thing ever fly? I bet that would work good. And finally, in a video, he says, this is awesome, and I get things as straight as with that, and it's good. You'll figure it out. And I ordered that night off Amazon, and I got to tell you, I use them in conjunction with each other now. So basically, I use the heavy one to get my first cut down with 40 grit. Sometimes I'll use it with 80. This I use with 80 and 180, and even though it's only 11 inches, it takes the sticky back. I can't live without this tool. I use this all the time. This has cut down my hours by a lot, and even though I use both, because I'm not holding that big one all the time, and even though that's heavy, the little bit of difference of lightness, it might be a pound. I'm not tired at night. You need those, in my opinion, but if you can only live with one, you need this one. This is a great tool. I'll give that like all my thumbs up. Okay, to run those, you need paper. And I'm only going to talk about paper because I found a few products that work that are half the cost of the expensive things. So you're going to like that. Carabac, whatever that says. There you go. 220, but I've also got 80 and 180, and I keep them in a bag. Now, let's start with the con. This is the only product that's going to have a con on my table. It just sticks here. They don't have that white paper on the back to protect the stickiness. If you read the reviews on this on Amazon, they're going to tell you, you know, you can tell. The body shop guys don't say too much about this, but some of the other people, oh, it's not real sticky. Now, the key to using this paper, when you take it off your, now look, this is an old piece, it's all crappy, right? But look, it's not coming off. I'm pushing it hard here, right? This is going to stay on all day. You can't just wipe it on your pants and stick it on. Take a piece of paper towel, give it a really, really good wipe or blow it off. But like, if you keep these relatively clean, including this, because this one's 11 inch, you can't get the strips, you got to go sticky back. This paper holds up. It doesn't plug up. Now here it did because we were going into some real nasty stuff. But here's paper that I'm ready to throw out because it's dull. This is still cutting into my finger, right? It's still, you see how bad this one is? I could blow that off and still use it. Now, I'm going to change those because cutting faster is better. But this paper's good. It holds up. I like it. I use Norton paper on these guys. Okay? Throw that over there. But this stuff right here, PowerTech, and I believe it's an American company from what I read online. This stuff comes from Amazon. You know, your frowny face box. And it's really good. It's half the price of a lot of the expensive papers that I'd normally use. There's a lot of cheap papers on there. Most of them suck. This stuff seems to be okay. You're not burning through lots and lots of sheets. Now I've used, it's called, was it Samite or Sanmite? And I found it to be really good. It stuck really well, and so does this. But I found I was going through a lot of sheets. So half the money is, say, Norton. But if you're using twice as much, it's the same. This stuff seems to hold up pretty good. You're not changing them out all the time. It doesn't plug up too much. Like, it's really good quality, this paper right here. So, and I've already tried it in the 400 and the 80. And then I picked up these two as well. Basically, when I had to reorder, I just grabbed a few things because it was cheap and it's good. Palm sanders. I don't even have anything with the big handle. I use these. Now, they're identical. This one has, well, we'll talk about that. But it's basically the exact same tool. I just got a small pad on this one. ATD 2088. Amazon. Now, when you read the reviews, people say, oh, they shake and vibrate and all these things. Look, sometimes you get a dud pad when it's new in the box. Put a new pad on it. I love this palm sander. It has been awesome. This one's 4.5 years old, and I run it every single day. And a couple months ago, I bought a second one and it's just as good as the first one. I love these sanders. They're awesome. That's why I gave you the part number. Now, as for this, we took the rubber dust shield off. Now, you can buy these 3.5 for small paper like this. But what I do, because I don't want to ruin that pad right away, I take my old 6-inch pads and I basically cut them on my drill press. You'll have to figure out how to do that. You'll have to do some sort of jig and blade or whatever. If you've got a milling machine, it's easy. You tape this, you spin it, you cut it. Anyway, the reason why I can get right in here and come right in and get all these spots with this and all those weird shapes. You see how that is, right? I used this in conjunction with this, and that's all I used, and you can almost paint that. It's finished out good. Now, other things you need: Harbor Freight Princess Auto, super bright light. They're like $9. I spray paint mine yellow because you can't find them under a car if you don't. So everything I've used this week and a half to do this car to get it to where it is, because it was a lot rougher, I think I got it all on the table. And again, I don't use that. Here's some of that 3-inch paper. Now this actually here's a bad review. This is a 3M product. It's 120 grit. It cuts really well. It sticks good. Plugs up super fast. Whatever that's for, it sucks with body filler. And it says automotive, but it is what it is. Anyway, I hope this video was, well, you get something out of it. And by the way, they say don't use cardboard to mix your filler. And 3M says that, which is funny because 3M sells these, and this is paper. You pull these off and you get a brand new piece of paper. That's all I've ever used. And I mean, you know, I used to use boards and cardboard and different things. The reason I went to this isn't because cardboard won't work, because I don't buy that crap at all. I think anything cleanish will work just fine. Now, you don't want to use cardboard that had wax in it or something weird, but I mean, anything that's clean is fine. And the only reason I use this, it's quicker for me to tear this off. And when I'm flooding a car the way I was this week with this, because keep in mind, the filler you see there now, that's very little. That whole quarter was filler, and it's all been done once. This was just to get the extreme lows. And again, that's a finishing, you know, that lighter filler. So there you got it. So I hope that was helpful. That is literally all the stuff I use to get a car that's, you know, all crappy and, you know, it needs work here and there. So when it comes to sanding and filler, that is everything I use to get it to this level. And this car is basically sitting in primer, and it's ready to be blocked, sealed, and painted. Hope you got something out of it. Cheers.